There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It whispers, it drains you, it makes you question your own worth. Slowly, quietly, like a fog creeping in at dawn. Maybe you've felt it, around someone who smiles when you fail, who sows doubt when you shine, who twists your success into their shadow. And here's the hard truth: not everyone in your life wants to see you rise. Some people, masked in charm, cloaked in concern, only feel secure when you feel small. But the Stoics saw this long before we did. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Let that sink in, because if you let these people too close, their bitterness will bleed into your mindset, your decisions, your growth. In this episode, we'll explore 10 unmistakable signs that someone near you is quietly poisoning your progress. No fluff, no fear-mongering, just raw, timeless Stoic wisdom, sharpened for the battlefield of modern life. So stay with me, because once you see the truth, you never unsee it. And that's when your real power begins. Number 1, charm with a hidden blade. Sometimes the most dangerous people don't raise their voice. They smile, they flatter, they show up exactly how you wanted someone to show up. Attentive, caring, magnetic. But beneath that dazzling surface, something feels off. You can't explain it, but your gut whispers, something isn't right. That's not paranoia. That's wisdom knocking. Epictetus once warned, appearances are of 4 kinds. Things either are as they appear, or are not, yet appear to be, or are, yet do not appear, or neither are nor appear to be. And the most dangerous charmers? They appear kind, but they are not. I once knew a man who could win any room with his voice. Compliments flowed effortlessly. He remembered names. He made you feel important, needed. But I started noticing something. Whenever someone had nothing left to offer him, he'd vanish. Or worse, speak about them with contempt. One time a mutual friend lost his job. This man, who once called him like a brother, publicly mocked his downfall within a week. That's when I realized his charm wasn't connection, it was currency. To the untrained eye, charm looks like character. But Stoicism teaches us, don't listen to what a man says, watch what he does. If someone's words feel golden, but their actions are cold, don't ignore it. They're not showing you who they are, they're showing you what you want to see. Think about everyday life. Maybe there's a colleague who's overly generous with compliments, but subtly undermines others behind closed doors. Or a friend who says you're like family, but disappears the moment you face hardship. That's not affection, that's performance. Genuine people don't need a script. Real kindness isn't rehearsed, it radiates. So how do you protect yourself? You observe, you trust your instincts. You ask, does this person behave with the same integrity when no one's watching? That's the test. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And no matter how smooth someone's charm may appear, eventually their actions will reveal the color of their soul. Don't be blinded by the shine. Look deeper and walk away from beauty that burns when you touch it. 2. The hollow soul. Have you ever opened your heart to someone, shared something raw, vulnerable, painful, and instead of compassion, you were met with coldness, indifference? A subtle shrug, or worse, a smug change of topic that left you feeling small? Seneca once said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." But some people see that opportunity and choose apathy. Empathy isn't just a soft idea. It's the glue of real human connection. When it's absent, the the space between two people becomes wide, hollow, and ultimately unsafe. I remember a moment that left a mark. My father had just been diagnosed with a serious illness. My mind was foggy, my heart unsteady, and I turned to someone I thought I could trust. But instead of comfort, he looked at his phone and muttered, "Yeah, well, my boss just doubled my workload too. Life's hard for all of us." That wasn't just tone deaf, it was soul bruising. It wasn't that his struggle didn't matter, it's that mine was ignored, dismissed, as if pain only mattered when he felt it. And that's the pattern you'll see in the hollow soul. They don't truly listen. They wait for their turn to speak. Or worse, they redirect the spotlight back to themselves. Your sadness becomes a nuisance. Your joy becomes a threat. But Stoic wisdom cuts through the fog. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be E1. Someone who consistently shows a lack of compassion, who avoids your suffering and shrinks your joy, is not neutral. They are draining. Slowly, they erode your sense of worth. So what do? We choose differently. We surround ourselves with people who can sit in silence when words are hard, who don't compete with your pain but hold space for it, who celebrate you with sincerity, not with silent envy. And most of all, don't mirror their coldness. Let it remind you of the rare, radiant beauty of warmth. Because your vulnerability is not weakness, it is a gift, one only meant for those strong enough to receive it with grace. Number 3, control disguised as concern. There's a quiet kind of violence that doesn't leave bruises, but scars the soul. It starts subtly, masked as concern, cloaked in kindness. A suggestion here, a warning there. "You sure you want to do that?" they'll ask. I wouldn't trust them if I were you. At first, it feels like they're just looking out for you, until suddenly you're not making your own decisions anymore. They are. Control, for truly malicious individuals, is not about care. It's about possession. Epictetus once warned, "No man is free who is not master of himself." But these people don't want you to master yourself. They want to be your master. I once knew someone like this. A mentor I deeply respected. At first, his guidance felt like a gift, but over time I noticed a pattern. Every time I wanted to act on my own, he'd quietly sow doubt. "I'm just trying to help you avoid a mistake," he'd say. But what he really meant was, "I don't want you to trust yourself more than you trust me." That's how it works. They don't shout. They don't threaten. They erode your confidence slowly until you start seeking their approval for every step. You become afraid to move without their green light. And what they've done, without raising their voice, is build a prison inside your mind, one where you hold the key, but you're convinced you're not ready to use it. Malicious people thrive when you stop trusting your judgment, when you start thinking you need them to decide what's right for you. But here's the truth. They never want you to realize you are capable. You always were. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." So if someone's words consistently lower the quality of your thinking, they are not helping you. They are holding you hostage. So how do we break free? You reclaim your autonomy. You stop asking for permission to grow. You remind yourself daily that you are the author of your life, not a character in someone else's story. You set boundaries, not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. And when you do, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself again. And the prison, it crumbles. Number 4, truth twisted into weapons. There's a moment, quiet, subtle, but absolutely shattering when you realize someone is lying straight to your face. And worse, they don't even flinch. No guilt, no hesitation, just a perfectly rehearsed story, crafted not to communicate, but to control. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." But to a corrupt soul, truth isn't sacred. It's a tool, bent, twisted, and weaponized. They don't lie to hide mistakes. They lie to control your perception, to distort your reality. I once knew someone exactly like that, always the victim, always misunderstood. Her voice, convincing, her tears, perfectly timed, her stories, flawlessly rehearsed. One day she told me she'd been sabotaged at work, framed by a coworker, heartbroken and desperate for understanding. I believed her. But later, I learned the truth. She had fabricated the entire situation just to dodge accountability. And when I gently confronted her, she didn't apologize. She didn't even blink. "You must have misunderstood me," she said, calmly, smoothly, as if I was the one who got it wrong. And for a moment, I believed her. That's the power of calculated dishonesty. It doesn't just damage trust, it fractures your sense of reality. Epictetus warned us, "It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them." And that's what these people aim to corrupt, your judgment, your inner compass. They want you to question what you saw, what you felt, what you know. So how do we respond? We observe. We don't chase explanations. We don't argue with illusions. We pay attention to patterns, not apologies. Do they own their actions or deflect? Do their stories change when pressed? Do their actions match their words? Because here's the Stoic truth. Truth doesn't need decoration. Lies always do. And when someone's words constantly make you doubt yourself, they are not confused. They are dangerous. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to expose them. You just need distance and the courage to believe what your soul already knows. Let that be your compass. Number 5, the blame architect. You know the type. When things go wrong, it's never their fault. The meeting failed. You didn't prepare enough. The relationship cracked. You were too sensitive. The project missed the mark. Well, you should have managed it better. And slowly, you start to believe it. You begin to carry weight that was never yours. You begin to apologize for wounds you didn't cause. This is the silent weapon of the blame architect. And their sharpest blade isn't anger, it's distortion. Seneca once said, "The first step toward amendment is the recognition of error." But the malicious mind, it refuses that step. Why? Because owning a mistake requires humility. And for them, perception is power. They'd rather look flawless than be honest. So they build stories, carefully worded, emotionally rigged. They cast themselves as the victim, always misunderstood, always doing their best. And you become the villain in a story you never agreed to be part of. I once worked with someone just like this. Polished, brilliant, charismatic, but never wrong. One time we missed a crucial deadline. And instead of taking ownership, he told our manager, "I wasn't reminded enough." Just like that, he didn't just dodge accountability. He weaponized trust. He made me the liability. That's when I realized people who refuse to own their mistakes will gladly make you carry them. Marcus Aurelius offered us a compass. If someone shows me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no one was ever truly harmed. But that kind of honesty, it terrifies those who live behind illusions. So how do we protect ourselves? We stay grounded in facts. We reflect, yes, But we do not absorb guilt that does not belong to us. And when someone repeatedly refuses to take responsibility, we walk. Because Stoicism teaches us this: you are responsible for your response, not for someone else's refusal to grow. And sometimes, the most powerful act of integrity is simply not accepting the blame that was never yours. Hold the line. Your peace depends on it. Number 6, isolation as a weapon. They don't always try to hurt you with words. Sometimes they do it by removing the voices around you until the only one left is theirs. Isolation is one of the most dangerous tools in a manipulator's arsenal, not because it's loud, but because it's silent, subtle, and slow. At first, it feels like care. I just want to spend more time with you. Or, your friends don't really get you the way I do. It sounds like love, loyalty, even wisdom. But over time, those soft words become walls, and your world starts to shrink. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." We are not meant to live disconnected. Strength comes from meaningful connection, not quiet control, but toxic people know this. That's why they target your circle, your closest voices, and try to cut them off. Because once you're alone, you're easier to control. Doubt begins to grow. Confidence starts to fade, and eventually you stop trusting others and start questioning yourself. I once had a friend who slowly drifted from everyone she loved, not because they failed her, but because someone convinced her they would. "They're jealous," he whispered. "They don't want you to succeed." And when she finally hit rock bottom, he was the only one left. That's not protection. That's prison. So how do we break free? We reconnect. We reflect. We ask ourselves the hard question: am I being encouraged to build bridges or to burn them? True allies don't isolate you. They don't shrink your world. They expand it. So guard your circle, protect your voice, and never forget those who try to silence the world around you. Fear the strength you carry when you're standing in the middle of it. Number 7, envy wearing a friendly face. Some betrayals don't come with knives. They come with smiles and compliments. Jealousy doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, soft, sweet, just enough sugar to hide the poison underneath. Maybe you've heard it before. That's impressive, but you could have done even better. Or, "I'm happy for you, just don't get ahead of yourself." It sounds like advice. It feels like concern. But it's envy in disguise. Seneca once wrote, "Envy is the adversary of the fortunate." And worse than that, it wears masks. It smiles with you, while secretly hoping you stumble. It can live in someone who laughs at your jokes, who praises your wins, who even claims to support you. But inside, they ache to see you fall. I once admired a man who seemed proud of my progress. Wise, polished, respected. At every milestone, he'd nod and say, "Nice, but don't get cocky." At first, it felt humbling, like he was keeping me grounded. But over time, I noticed a pattern. There was always a but. And when I truly succeeded, his silence was deafening. That's when I understood. His words weren't guidance. They were subtle sabotage. That's how jealousy operates. It doesn't attack, it corrodes. Bit by bit, it chips away at your confidence until you start questioning your own shine. And here's what makes it worse. It often comes from people closest to you, friends, colleagues, even family. So how do we protect our light? Marcus Aurelius said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them truly know who you are." If praise makes you feel smaller, It's not praise, it's projection. Ask yourself, does this person want me to grow, or just want me to stay small enough that they feel big? Trust your gut. True support uplifts without condition. True allies celebrate without comparison. And if someone asks you to dim your light just so they can feel comfortable in their own shadow, walk on, because no one who's proud of you will ever ask you to shrink. Number 8, pleasure in your pain. There's something deeply unsettling about someone who smiles when others suffer. It starts small, a sarcastic jab when you fail, a subtle grin when someone stumbles, a comment coated in concern, but laced with poison. They deserved it, they say. Or worse, they say nothing. They just sit back, watch the fallout, and enjoy it. These people, they don't want to build anything. They want to watch things break, not because they're strong, but because deep inside, they feel powerless. And the only way to feel above others is to pull them down. Epictetus warned, keep company only with those who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. But these people, they do the opposite. Their presence chips away at your confidence, your trust in others, sometimes even your trust in yourself. I once knew a woman like this. When a colleague got divorced, she smiled and whispered, "Well, I always knew that wouldn't last." When someone was laid off, "Maybe it's for the best," she said. "They weren't that good anyway." And when another got promoted, she offered faint praise, then spent a week tearing them down behind their back. That wasn't gossip. That was strategy, psychological warfare, disguised as indifference. And here's what the Stoics teach us. This behavior isn't just toxic, it's corrosive to the soul. Because when you delight in someone else's pain, you lose a piece of your own humanity. These people don't want connection, they want comparison. They don't rise, they wait for you to fall. So how do we respond? Simple. We step away, quietly, completely, without guilt. We surround ourselves with people who clap when we rise, who celebrate without jealousy, who hold space when we struggle and stand beside us, not above us. Because true strength never seeks to harm. It seeks to heal. So if someone in your life quietly enjoys the pain of others, don't wait until that darkness turns toward you. Walk away, preserve your peace, and choose light over shadow. Every single time. Number 9, the heart that will never say sorry. One of the most dangerous red flags you'll ever encounter is someone who never says, "I'm sorry." Not because they're always right, but because their pride is louder than their conscience. The truly unrepentant don't stumble. They refuse to reflect. They don't make mistakes. They rewrite the story until they're never to blame. And when you confront them, they pivot, they deflect, they gaslight. You're too sensitive. You're overreacting. Or worse, they make you feel guilty for simply being hurt. But Epictetus said it best. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. And that's the tragedy of the unrepentant heart. It doesn't bend, it hardens. I once knew someone like this. A partner who, no matter how gently I spoke, always found a way to shift the blame. If something he did hurt me, it was my fault for feeling it. If he crossed a boundary, he'd say I was being too much. And slowly, I began to doubt myself, my memory, my voice, my worth. And that's exactly what he wanted. Because without remorse, there is no accountability. And without accountability, there can be no trust. Stoicism teaches us real strength begins with humility, the courage to reflect, the wisdom to admit wrong, the character to make it right. So if someone in your life avoids responsibility, deflects every mistake, and refuses to repair what they've broken, listen closely. Their silence is an answer. Their lack of apology is a message. And that message is simple. They are not ready to grow. So protect your peace. Don't wait for the apology that will never come. Surround yourself with people who own their missteps, who choose growth over ego, and who show you, through action, that love doesn't make excuses, it makes amends. You deserve connection, not correction. You deserve honesty, not illusions. And most of all, you deserve a heart that bends, not one that breaks you. In the world of entrepreneurship and self-development, the quality of your circle often defines the clarity of your decisions. Because not all threats to your growth come from the market. Some come disguised as support, a smile laced with envy, a mentor who thrives on control, a friend who claps with one hand and criticizes with the other. Stoicism teaches us something powerful. It's not just your goals that need protecting, it's your mind, your peace, your inner world. As Marcus Aurelius warned, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So if your environment fills you with confusion, with self-doubt, with that quiet sense of never being enough, it's not just draining your energy, it's killing your momentum. And for the high performer, the builder, the visionary, momentum is everything. So here's the Stoic call to action. Choose relationships that challenge you with integrity, not those that manipulate you with guilt. Surround yourself with people who want to see you soar, not shrink, because true freedom isn't just measured in income or influence, it's measured in emotional sovereignty. If this message speaks to where you are, right now, drop a comment below. I protect my peace building something big, and needs a reminder that mental clarity is the highest ROI. Together, let's build a community of leaders who don't just move with strategy, but lead with strength of mind.